Patrick Giguere, and thanks for tuning in. I hope everyone's doing well. It's been a while since I've been on here. I haven't been making a whole lot of content. Been busy with a lot of stuff. A lot of things in my life are shifting. I just haven't really gotten to video making as much. And as all of you can tell, we're really past that stage in this whole pandemic situation where people need to be warned, because all the warnings have been given out. And at this point, people know where they stand on subjects like the lockdowns, the needlecraft, all that kind of thing. So people know where they stand, and I've seen other people too just sort of wind down after that whole thing. It started to blow over. Doesn't mean we're out of the woods yet, but that was a very content intensive time for a lot of people. It was for me. But I'm not going anywhere. I'm still around. What we're going to talk about today, or what I'm going to talk at you about today, for whoever's listening. We're going to talk about tomorrow's lunar eclipse. So I'm making this video, what is it? It's about 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, so on the East Coast of the United States of America. Hopefully I'll get through the edit pretty quickly. And I can actually get this out before the damn eclipse. But yeah. So, wherever you are in the world, whenever you get to this, it'll be a different time for you. But yeah, the maximum of that eclipse is going to take place about 2:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So that eclipse will be at its darkest. It's going to be a partial eclipse, not a full lunar eclipse. But it'll be at its maximum about 2:30 p.m. So 14:30 hours for people other places in the world. 2:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So that's East Coast of America. So I think this will be more visible for people in like Central and, more Eastern Europe, really. Probably the sun will just be going down in Central Europe. Sun will just be setting. But yeah. So there's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of interpretation with this lunar eclipse. And you've probably heard already, but you've got an ambient rainstorm. We're having a pretty good tropical storm came up from the Caribbean Sea, from farther south in the Atlantic Ocean. So you get some ambiance for this video. So this lunar eclipse. Now, what is a lunar eclipse? Lunar eclipse is a full moon. You got sun and moon, opposite signs, opposite houses. But then the sun and moon are aligning with Rahu and Ketu, the shadows of the moon. So, in this particular case, since it's only a partial eclipse, you've got sun and the moon at 1 degree, moon in Pisces, sun in, Virgo sidereal, whereas moon is in the same sign as Rahu. Rahu is at 12 degrees. Sun is in the same sign as Virgo. Sun is in the same sign as Ketu. Ketu's at 12 degrees. So there's 11 degrees difference. Not a very strong or complete eclipse, but an eclipse nonetheless. Very important one. So, and by the way, I am reading sidereal astrology. It's what I primarily do. Tropical astrology, which is the mainstream, perfectly valid zodiac, but to me, it addresses the appearance of things more, because it's a theoretical zodiac. It's disconnected from what's actually going on in the sky. So totally valid, totally useful, But to me, it addresses more the appearance of things. This sidereal astrology, which is the visible sky astrology, which when you look up, it's where the planets are actually placed. This deals with more of the unconscious and the subconscious, with the mental and emotional undercurrents going on in the world. So I think this is more important because the conscious mind is at most about 10% of your mental activity. It accounts for 10% of your mental activity. So not a whole lot. So sidereally, you got a full moon in Pisces, you got a lunar eclipse in Pisces. So Pisces, 12th sign, deals with endings, deals with secrets, deals with things that go on behind the scenes, deals with out of the way places. So it can deal with, conference rooms, corporate conference rooms, government conference rooms, the offices of government officials, which people don't get into unless you work for them or unless you're one of their associates or unless you're one of their masters. Deals with things like hospitals, wilderness, all those kind of things. Secret hidden places and often secret things going on. Also deals with the hidden side of reality in the universe. So like the spiritual dimension of our universe. So all these kind of things. So, and it's a Rahu eclipse because the moon is going to be conjunct, loosely conjunct, but conjunct Rahu. So Rahu and Ketu, the dragon's head and the dragon's tail, they're portals. They bring things into this world and they send things out of this world. So this lunar eclipse is the Rahu eclipse. Something new is coming in. Rahu being the head of the dragon, head of the serpent, brings new things in. So the moon is at 1 degree of Pisces, very beginning of Pisces. And so we want to look at the lunar mansion. Lunar mansion is Chimera. So Chimera, mythical creature from astrology. It has 3 heads. What is it? The head of a goat, a lion, and a snake. And it has different, body parts. It's got the head of the lion, was it body of a goat, and then the lower body of a dragon. So, it was a very, in mythology, it was, kind of a destructive creature. But the actual lunar mansion Pisces, Chimera, and, this lunar mansion Chimera goes from the final degrees of Aquarius into the lower degrees of Pisces, where, again, this is taking place. So, some meanings of the lunar mansion Chimera. It gives the potential to raise spiritual inspiration, to give us more spiritual inspiration, to inspire us to go beyond our selfishness. It can be very idealistic. It can really want to make a difference in the world. So, very good things, but idealism, wanting to make a difference in the world, and having too little selfishness. Too little selfishness can be a very destructive and harmful thing. So being too selfless, too idealistic, and wanting to make a difference at any cost, that's a recipe for manipulation. Now, here in America and many other countries in the world, we're in election years. We're building up for elections towards the end of the year. Some are going on now. It's a great manipulation season. Every side, every party's trying to manipulate you. I don't make any exceptions. Whether you're talking in America, whether you're talking about Harris or Trump or whoever, they're all trying to manipulate you. They're all trying to be your buddy. They all want you to be on their side. And they don't want you to think a whole lot. So that's always a thing to consider. I don't know what sane person would ever trust a politician. I don't know what sane person would ever trust a person they never met and admire a man or a woman that they have never met. I think that's insane. Because all we know of these people, unless we've worked in government or worked in private industry with these people or know them personally, We're just falling in love with media portrayals, and that's very dangerous. It's always very dangerous. And it's especially dangerous when it's the politician you like, because people you like are the ones who are capable of manipulating you. The assholes you don't like can't manipulate you because you have an aversion to them. You don't like them. So it's like, come on, people. Most of my audience gets this, but most of the world doesn't. So it's like, yeah, it's a mess. I don't want to go into the origins of that mentality, but yeah, it's got a lot to do with the Christian era, the last 1,700 years of the Christian era in the West. It's made us very subservient to celebrities and figures of authority. But anyway, back to the astrology. So yeah, Chimera can be too selfless, too idealistic, and it wants to make a difference. So do all those things. Get over yourself, selfless. Get over your selfishness. Have your ideals. Make a difference in the world, but don't let, some media personality let you fuck yourself. Do positive things in your local community, in your family, in your friend groups. That's what keeps the world from going to hell. It's not correct voting. Another thing about Chimera, the energy of this lunar mansion, it's eccentric and it's rebellious. This can be very good because it can make people unique, it can make people colorful, but then at the same time, it can really make people conformists because, you look at like hippies, you look at people with fucking blue hair, you look at hipsters, you look at, anytime people fit into a group like punks, goths, hippies, whatever. If you look and dress like everyone in that group, you're not different. You're just, instead of being orthodox, instead of conforming to orthodoxy, you're conforming to a fringe group. So, trans is like this. So it's like people are being eccentric, but they're all doing it the same way. And then, rebellion is a funny thing. Rebellion is, we need to rebel in life sometime. Rebelliousness gets us out of our mommy and daddy issues. And mommy and daddy issues are pretty natural to humanity. But then, especially the Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, not so much, but Islam and Christianity, it's like they raise people, they train people to double down on their mommy and daddy issues. So it's like in Christianity, you get this word Lord. So they call God the Lord. They call Jesus Lord. Well, in medieval times when this religion was invented, government officials were called Lord. They were called my Lord. So what this did is it set people up who were raised in this religion to not be able to tell the difference between the government and, God, higher powers. So it's very clever medieval deception that we're still stuck in. So, but yeah, rebelliousness can get us out of mommy daddy issues. One of the most useful things for that. But the thing you want to be careful of is don't get stuck in rebelliousness, because you end up like a hippie. You end up like these millions of baby boomers who've been stoned since the summer of love or Woodstock. They're jerk-offs, because it's like, if you've been stoned every day for 55, 60 years, you can't think clearly. But they love to call other people stupid. So, rebellion can be very counterproductive. Rebellion is like a phase you go through, and then you get out of it and you go on with your life, and it's like this whole thing where people, they think they're like sticking it to the man by doing drugs, and it's like, no, you're doing exactly what the man wants you to do, because you can't fucking think clearly, and you're more easily swayed by media, and your brain and your whole hormonal system is wired for short-term gratification. It's like, I don't know if anyone else says this, but I always tell people, American life, everyone wants things at the speed of addiction, because addicts they're wired for short-term gratification, and they have a hard time, playing the long game. So yeah, watch your rebelliousness. So anyway, let's get back on track. So that's Chimera. Those are the potentials of Chimera, the energies of it. So, and then the symbol for Chimera. It's sometimes called the man with two faces because this little glyph, it almost looks like a face that's divided down the middle, kind of like Two-Face in the, what was that? The Dark Knight. The Batman movie with Christian Bale and Heath Ledger. So this glyph is sometimes called the man with two faces. Can stand for the moment between life and death. So it's like the face of the person is like going dark, kind of like one half at a time. It can also look like a sword, and to me too, it almost looks like the Kabbalistic cross. So it's a cross that the Eastern Orthodox bishops carry. It's a cross with 3 horizontal bars instead of 1. Stands for the Kabbalistic tree of life, which, little side note, a lot of the Bible has to do with that, but no one's taught about it, because if you're running a church, you don't want people thinking too critically. You really don't want them to know what these Bible stories are really saying. So, but yeah, that Kabbalistic cross is basically it's the tree of life. It's a cosmology. It's like a map of the universe. So yeah, that's what this little glyph stands for. So, what this lunar eclipse means for the world. You've got the moon being eclipsed, going dark in Pisces. So Pisces, all these hidden things and secrets, every sort of hidden dimension of our reality. So again, that moon is conjunct Rahu. So to me, this means that our minds are going to be faced with a new capability to see dark things in the world, to see secret things in the world. And interestingly, this moon at 1 degree of Pisces is conjunct with Neptune, retrograde Neptune at 4 degrees of Pisces. A retrograde Neptune is basically like a truth teller and a bomb dropper. Neptune has a lot of ability to fool people, to help us to get lost in our own delusions, to lie to ourselves. Propaganda, no matter who it's coming from, it's an opportunity to lie to yourself. When Neptune goes retrograde, it gives us the ability to stop doubling down on our delusions and actually see clearly. And enlightenment is nothing more than seeing clearly. So, this is a time, these 2 weeks, especially this eclipse season, from now until October the 2nd, and even beyond, but especially these 2 weeks, it's a time for things to come to light, in the public sphere and in our own personal lives. Most people don't take this opportunity, but those people who do, they get a whole new understanding of life and the world. They see things in a different context. So for the world, that's what this eclipse is about. Now, and actually there's a couple more things going on I wanted to mention. So at the time of this lunar eclipse, you've got Venus conjunct Spica. So Venus during this eclipse is at 29 degrees Virgo. So almost exactly conjunct Spica, which is 0 degrees or 1 degree sidereal Libra. Spica is it's a fixed star. It's a star of creative people, artists, entertainers, directors, producers, people who are creating works of art. And these election campaigns, it's all performance art. These politicians don't have any power. It's all about performance art. What happens is when a politician wins the election, that group of corporations that's sponsoring that politician gets to be in control. So that's really what it is. So having Venus conjunct Spica, this is a time of glitz and glamour and Hollywood movie magic. And it's being used, so Venus is the social planet, deals with social activity, friendships, romances. This artistic energy is being used to try to butter us up and get on our good side and, become our friend. So a lot of that in the air. And then you have Uranus. Uranus is retrograde. It's basically been sitting on the fixed star Algol. So Algol is 2 degrees sidereal Taurus. Algol is the head of Medusa. And it deals with leaders being, decapitated, quote unquote, decapitated. More about leaders losing power, losing face, losing a positive public image, but it can deal with death. Mars and Uranus were at this degree, the second sidereal degree of Taurus, when Donald Trump got shot through the ear, almost got his grape popped. So yeah, that was an energy really driving that whole event, but he made it through it. But this is a time when, leaders are going to fall from grace. We're going to see their true colors. So when you look at this more closely, since I'm an American, I like to look at it from an American point of view. The sign of Pisces is the 4th house. What's the 4th house? 4th house is the homeland. It deals with a sense of security. It deals with your home. So we're going to see, as Americans especially, the whole world, but especially as Americans, we're going to see what has been really going on in our homeland for a long time, for many years. Both parties doing it, because both parties are friends. If you think these parties are really enemies, I don't know what to tell you. But yeah. So we're going to get a clearer look of how this country has been working for a long time. And since Pluto is back where it was, July 1776, we're going to be seeing shit that the deep state has been doing for the last almost 250 years we didn't know about. Especially in a financial sphere, because this Pluto return is in America's 2nd house, which is Capricorn, which deals with resources. And then, so before I wrap this up, I want to talk about the 2 jackholes that are running for president. I don't like politicians. To me, Donald Trump is a source of entertainment. He makes people who I can't stand, cry and poop their pants, and throw temper tantrums. I think that's funny. He's a good disruption to the establishment, but he works for a deep state. And so, sometimes people are like, what do you mean he works for the deep state? I didn't say he works for the deep state. I said he works for a deep state. He works for the underdog deep state that wants to overtake the establishment deep state. A question I'll ask people is, whoever told you there was one deep state? It's like when people say the government or the military or the Pentagon or the CIA. These institutions don't cooperate. People working for these institutions don't cooperate with each other. They're full of factions who are always trying to stab each other in the back. And it's just not as simple as we're told in school and what our parents tell us and what the media tells us. It's much more complicated than that. So yeah, Donald Trump works for a deep state, and they're sleazy fucking corporate, and financial types. They're providing a disruption. They're disrupting the World Health Organization. They're disrupting the World Economic Forum. People like that. But I've never met any of these people. I've never met Donald Trump. I've never met, what's his name, Vance. I've never met fucking Tulsi. I keep hearing about Tulsi. All these guys are like, whoa, Tulsi joined the campaign. Oh, she's pretty hot. And it's like, yeah, that's what they want you to think. She's a fucking politician. I've never met her, so I can't trust her. I won't allow myself to trust her because I've never met her. Common sense people. We haven't had any common sense in America since about 1945. So, be aware of this stuff. So let's look at these two. Let's look at these two fucking clowns running for president. Because at the end of the day, 350 million people and we can't do better than Harris and Trump. It's like, Jesus Christ. So anyway, okay, let's look at Miss Kamala, the cackler. Yeah, and this woman's not doing well. If you are capable of objectivity, when she speaks like unscripted and off the cuff, it's a disaster. She's like a fifth grader giving an oral book report for a book that she was supposed to read but did not read it.
Madam Vice President, how are you feeling about Pennsylvania?
I am feeling very good about Pennsylvania because there are a lot of people in Pennsylvania.
So she's like talking out of her ass. And, she says she gives a lot of word salad non-answers. And to me, she's clearly pretty psychopathic, just the way she laughs. That laugh is also nervousness. I don't think she wants to be president. It's possible Trump doesn't want to be president. The two of them may have favors to pay back for people who made their careers for them, and now they have to pay the favor back. I think definitely the case for her. So let's look at her chart. I keep going off on these fucking tangents. Okay. She is a Gemini ascendant. So Gemini is communication. Mercury ruled sign. Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. Virgo is much more intellectual, much more careful, much more measured, much more dignified. Gemini is more chatty. It's more reality TV. She's got a Gemini ascendant, the ascendant degree, 1 degree Gemini, sidereal. And then her Rahu is in her ascendant house, conjunct the ascendant degree. So the ascendant degree and Rahu, 1 degree Gemini. So this is already interesting. She's a Rahu ascendant. She's running for president. Nothing ridiculous or unreasonable about that. But people who are Rahu ascendants, the way that one of the lessons life teaches them is that they kind of have to be self-made. They can't rise to the top by riding other people's coattails, which is exactly what she did. She was never voted for in any Democratic primaries. Basically, what happened was Joe Biden was ousted from the presidency. Everybody knew, well, I said since at least 2021, when all these, the needle craft started flying around. At least since then, his cognitive function has been pretty screwed. I think he went into office. I think he was elected in 2020 with his brains pretty scrambled. A lot of booze, a lot of cocaine over the years. He's had a couple brain aneurysm surgeries. I think he had his first one when he was like 40, and a lot of young people get that from too much cocaine, too much liquor. So he's had brain problems for a long time. And he was even, on Inauguration Day in January 2021, he was even repeating things that he was hearing in his earpiece when he was walking into the Capitol building. The earpiece was telling him to salute the Marines at the front door, and he was repeating it.
Salute the Marines.
So, yeah, he had dementia his whole presidency. The media denied it. Cackling Kamala denied it. And then one day, the media was like, after the debate with Trump, the media just turned on a dime and said, oh, Biden is not healthy enough mentally or physically to be president. And they just slid her right into his campaign after saying for months, he's healthy enough, he's strong enough, he's sharp enough, he's intelligent enough. And then one day he wasn't. So it's kind of like how she she slept her way up the ladder when she was a prosecutor in San Francisco. So that doesn't bode well. The whole point of that doesn't bode well for somebody who's trying to be president. You just rode in on someone's coattails, and you didn't have the charisma to win people's trust and win people's, confidence. And that's a big problem. Voters are like, well, we don't know what her policies are. We don't know what she thinks, and they don't feel like they can trust her. So, yeah, just having Rahu in the ascendant and trying to ride people's coattails to the top, it doesn't work out. If she does get elected, through the miracle of technology, that's all I'll say, because technology can make a big difference in contests. So even if she does get into the presidency, it'll be the biggest absolute disaster anyone's ever seen, because she didn't earn it. Okay, let's look at what this eclipse can do to her. That's really the point of bringing her up. So this eclipse for cackling Kamala, this lunar eclipse in Pisces, is in her 10th house of career, public reputation. Not good. So the mind is the intuitive consciousness, the emotional consciousness. Not your intellectual thinking, but your deeper thinking, your intuitive thinking, your emotional thinking. That is being eclipsed. That moon is being eclipsed in the 10th house of her career. So in her professional life, she's trying to shine, but the light is being darkened. So not a good thing when you're trying to run for president, because the 10th house is also government, authority, public reputation. So yeah, not a good place for her. So I think this is a damaging eclipse for her. I think just more damning things are going to come out about her. I think she's going to stick her foot in her mouth, and she's just going to look worse and worse, and she's going to babble like a nitwit when she tries to speak, unscripted. But like I said, technology can make the big difference in a contest. So, yeah, we'll see. Postal unions can make a big difference in a contest. Don't want to get thrown off YouTube, but, postal workers unions can make a big difference. All right. So now for the orange man, for the Trumpy. He is a Leo ascendant. So Pisces is his eighth house of unexpected events, sudden disasters, hospitalizations, sudden illnesses. It can also deal with secrets, all that kind of stuff. I think so. Having a lunar eclipse in the eighth house, this could cause you to be injured, to be harmed, to have to go to the hospital. There is potential for that, but because at this time Mars is in what? Mars is in Gemini, his 11th house. Not really speaking to a lot of bodily harm. I think these eighth house potentials of disasters and catastrophes, it already played out, because you had this freaky blue-haired guy. Can't remember his name. The guy he had an assault rifle. He had an AK-47. He was he was in the woods on the golf course at Mar-a-Lago where Trump lives. He was something like 300 feet away, which he had a scope on the rifle. That's that's within shooting distance if you have a line of sight. So he went out there with a rifle with intent to shoot Trump. Secret Service found him, shot at him. He left the rifle and fled, and then he was later arrested. So I think that was the eighth house potential of bodily harm and hospitalization and all that stuff for Trump in this eclipse season. So I think it's already played out for him. He's probably in the clear, but anything can happen. But I don't know. I think the gods have his back here, so I think he's in pretty good shape. And, you know, when you look 2 weeks down the road, and this will be another video, but in 2 weeks on October the 2nd, we get the solar eclipse to end the eclipse season. 15 degrees sidereal Virgo, conjunct within 1 degree, no, actually exactly conjunct the fixed star Vindemiatrix. So Vindemiatrix, like Algol, it's a star of, you know, downfall for people. This is going to be in Kamala Harris's 4th house of security. Not good for her. For Trump, it's going to be in his 2nd house of resources and speech. He could say something really that really fucks himself. Maybe, you know, potentially he can't speak for some reason, you know, and that speaks to health things, but who knows? But I don't know. If he's made it this far, he's probably all right. Who the hell knows? But yeah, I think she's just going to keep, I don't think she's going to be harmed in any way. I think she's just going to be, old cackle Kamala is just going to be looking worse and worse and worse. You know, I think her popularity is going to flatline. You know, it is amazing Trump hasn't had health problems for, you know, like a big fat guy that eats McDonald's all the time. It's a miracle, you know. Wonders never cease. All right. I want to wrap it up there. That's quite enough. And I'll probably chop this into smaller videos so you don't have to necessarily watch the whole thing. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and talk to you later.